Let's do a little Nat Turner history. Now, the story that I've seen in glimpses and stuff is not the story that I researched about Nat Turner. So, there was a slave owner named Benjamin Turner who purchased the female Nancy. Well, I shouldn't say purchased. She was kidnapped, sold in the slave trade, and he purchased her that way. Not only did he purchase her, he impregnated her, which gave her a son named Nathaniel Turner, born October 2nd, 1800, Cross Keys, Virginia. He was born with a sort of pinkish color, which reminded her of the rape. So she tried to kill him. So Benjamin Turner took the baby and gave him to Harriet and Tom, which were his surrogate slave parents. Now, as he was growing up, they noticed in 1805 he knew how to read and write, but they didn't know how he learned that because they didn't teach him. Benjamin Turner set up a meeting house composed mostly of his relatives, which was turned into a church in 1808. In 1809, he transferred ownership of Nate to his son Samuel. And then in 1810, he dies. Now, Nate's surrogate father, Tom, runs away and was never heard of again. When that happened, Nate was sent to work in the fields as a plowboy. This is where he learned or engaged in the knowledge of the Bible and then expanded. In 1821, he asked Samuel for his freedom, which is actually his brother, but he got whipped for it. He runs away after a beating into the wilderness. He was away for about 30 days, and then he had visions, which brought him back. Most people say he stated that he ran away like its father Tom did, but he came back. So when he came back, he was forced to marry a slave named Cherry for breeding purposes, and they had a son named Riddick. So in 1823, Samuel Turner died. His wife Elizabeth sold him to Thomas More for his son Putnam, who was 6 years old at the time. He refused to purchase Cherry, who had Riddick, and there was one in the baby, which angered the people of the church because she was the mother of Nate's children. But the Turners immediately sold her and her children off to Giles Reese for $40. In 1827, he asked Thomas More to free him, and he was whipped again, but this time he didn't run away. In 1828, Thomas More died, and Putnam got full control of Nate at this time. Putnam's mother name was Sally Francis, and she remarries to a man named Joseph Travis. Now, there's all kinds of stories about the rebellion revolt. You can read up on that. I'll just give you a little bit of it. It began August 21st, 1831. He climbed into the window and he let the others come in the door. He had some people with him, a man named Henry Porter and Will Francis. They were going to help him with the revolt. So, as he climbs through the window and he lets some people in, he throws a hatchet at Joseph Travis, but it grazed him and didn't really kill him. And then Henry Porter and Will Francis decided to take over. Putnam, who was 16 at the time, was the first one to die. And then Sally died, Putnam's mother. There was another teenager in the house who was living in the home at the time. He was killed too. So after they did all the killing, they left. And they realized that they had left a baby in the house, and they went back to kill the baby. So when they went and did that, they went back and they went on a killing spree, stopping at plantations, killing others. But the oddly thing is, they bypassed Gil's Reese house, is where his mother, I'm sorry, not his mother, his wife Cherry and his kids were sent. He bypassed them, and there was another house he bypassed, was Willie Francis. So we're not sure if it had to do anything with Will, but they passed him. So 8/25, 1831, 3,000 troops arrived in Southampton, which they were there to stop the revolt. They were able to capture Will and Henry and the others that were involved, but Nate was still at large. They tortured Henry by cutting off his hamstrings, cutting off his nose and his ears, burning him with hot irons. Then they chopped his head off and spiked it on a shipping post so others could see it. So Nat Turner was hiding in a hole, which they call a cave, covered with French rails near Cabin Pond. He hid for about 70 days, or they couldn't find him for like 70 days. He was spotted and betrayed by 2 slaves who alerted Benjamin Phelps of Nate's whereabouts. Benjamin Phelps went out, found him. He was on top of a fallen tree and took him by gunpoint. You can read about the rest of the story because most of it I found to be fairly accurate, so I didn't put any of that down. Now, Thomas Griffin Gray was his attorney at the time when they put him on trial. Now, he wrote his confession. Now, some of it's true, some of it is more like he's telling it in the eyes of Thomas, not really in the eyes of Nat Turner. It's like he, trying to embellish some stuff, change some stuff to make, I don't know, the white man look better on it. I don't know. But to me, both of them are in the wrong. So November 11, 1831, he was captured and hung. He was skinned, and the souvenirs were made out of his skin, were made into purses. The flesh was made into grease, and the bones were made into trophies. So some of Nat Turner's family went into hiding on the Nottoway Indian Reservation because the aftermath on blacks was brutal. White vigilantes murdered dozens of innocent people just because of that revolt, and they were just taking revenge. It's one of the reasons the state laws came into play where it became illegal to teach blacks to read and write. They just wreaked havoc. So October 7, 2016, Nat Turner's skull was returned to the family after being in the hands of collectors for over 185 years. And after DNA testing was done on it, it was confirmed that it was indeed the skull of Nat Turner. Now, I'm not related to Nat Turner. We're not related to Nat Turner, but we are related to the Moors. So, I felt you needed to know about that story.